Denver is no stranger to gang violence. We've seen more gang-related murders this year than all of last year. No wonder there's concern we may be in for a dangerous summer when the violence traditionally escalates. The latest gang shootings happened last night. 9 News reporter Steve Stager talked with community leaders about what may be the underlying cause, Steve.
And Adele, for months now, we've been talking about two major issues in our community: the housing and population boom and a wave of gang violence. Tonight, a noted anti-gang activist says those two issues are overlapping.
Hold up, young little white man. Reverend Kelly would not describe himself, nor would we describe him, as a anti-gang activist, right? He's an activist that works with gangs. But you're using that language for a reason, aren't you? You're using that language for a reason.
And it may be one of the reasons we've seen some of the violence we've seen. Numbers can tell a lot about a situation.
We've had 17 murders this year. 12 of them have been gang-related. That number 12 is relatively high.
But they don't explain why. Why is gang violence on the rise in Denver this year? The number of gang-related murders has increased more than 5-fold from this time last year. Police say much of it is retaliation, old conflicts festering again.
You healthy?
Yes.
Good.
Anti-gang activist Kelly blames something else: a changing city.
From what I'm seeing with the regentrification, with the other white folks moving into the hood.
Now, y'all know damn well y'all wrong for that. Y'all could have edited out where he got the word regentrification, stumbled over it. Y'all wrong for that. Y'all wrong.
It is causing a collapse of space. And, when you got folks sitting up on top of each other, gangsters sitting up on top of you, it's causing tension.
He says the same reason you see rent and housing prices going up may have something to do with the tension.
Now we got, again, a lot of whites coming in, buying up some of these properties that were abandoned, that was foreclosed on and all of that. Folks are moving out or being displaced.
Kelly says Northeast Denver has experienced a bit of culture shock.
Now, you see how the reporter just glossed over really what... You see how he did that? They completely didn't deal with the fact that these homes are being foreclosed on. That's what's happening in Northeast Denver. That's what's happening in Park Hill. That's what's happening on the east side, right? That's what happened to Big Mama's house, right? Is the taxes, property taxes got too high, right? Because of the influx of gentrification. But they never really talk about that in the story, right? They never talk about what subprime lending did to Northeast Denver. They never talk about that violence, right? Because make no bones about it, that is a violent act. Taking someone's property is a violent act. If destroying property is a violent act, then thieving and taking someone's property, even if it's done with a suit and tie, is a violent act. And what you have, the original violence that is taking place in Northeast Denver, that's taking place in Park Hill, that's taking place on the east side, the original violence that took place by the banks, not the gangsters. They're responding to the violence.
The white folks are not going with what has been allowed to happen over the number of years. And where are we going to go? What are we going to do? We got to battle and fight for the low livelihood or low life that we have.
Now, Kelly also says today's gangs are more aggressive than the gangs we saw 30 years ago. The police chief says his department is beefing up patrols in Northeast Denver to try to quell this. They're also working on prevention through programs that would get gang members off the streets.
Programs to get gang members off the streets. What program could that possibly be? Let me tell you what program that is. Let me explain to you what that's the same program that took place in the 80s, in the Summer of Violence. That program that was run down by Norm Early. And let me tell you what that program is. That program is putting those children in prison. That's the program that he's talking. What other program do you know of that the police department uses to get gang members off the street? Please enlighten me. Does the police department run a job program that I'm unaware of at this point? Do they run a housing program that I'm unaware at this point? Do they run a college program that I'm unaware of at this point? Y'all know what program they talking about. They talking about locking up your kids. Program.
So, Steve, can anyone point back at any particular incidents that may have been a mitigating factor in all this?
The police chief says maybe the rash of violence, some of it at least, may have been caused by a rap concert back in November.
Really? A rap concert? That's what's causing this rash of violence. If I ever heard Police Chief White say that foolishness out of his mouth, I would really truly question his intelligence. To say that the rash of violence that's taking place in Denver amongst gangs can be traced back to a rap concert. You cats kill me, man.
And then since then, it's been retaliation after retaliation after retaliation. But anybody else will say this is something that's been going on for decades, and it's just retaliation after retaliation.